Today we're going to talk about what to do if your ex moved on and how to make them like you again. Now, the thing a lot of people don't realize is that moving on has many different definitions. Some people, when they talk about moving on, are talking about a physical new relationship that an ex has gotten into. Oh, he has moved on to a new girlfriend. And then some people, when they talk about moving on, are talking about simply their ex getting away from the relationship they were currently in. Oh, they've moved on from me. This video is going to talk about 4 tips on how to handle both of those situations. But first, if you are a newbie and are determining whether or not you want to get your ex back, my first recommendation for anyone new is to always hop by my new website, www.exboyfriend.com, and take the quiz I put together there for you. It's a quiz that's designed to tell you what kind of chance you have of getting your ex back. So if that's something that sounds like an interesting tidbit to you, all you have to do to take the quiz is simply look in the description link below the YouTube video, click on the link you see there, and we'll get you taken care of. All right, let's get to those 4 tips. Tip number 1, flirt, friend zone, flirt, friend zone. Now, quite honestly, this is something that I cannot take full credit for because all I've done is simply look at how exes have handled breakups. You'll notice sometimes an ex-boyfriend will act extremely hot and cold. Another really common way of phrasing this is you'll see women talk about rubber banding. So one day I got the brilliant idea to recommend exactly what exes were doing to my clients. Why don't you be hot and cold towards your ex? Why don't you friend zone your ex and then flirt with him, and then friend zone him again, and then flirt with him again? But ever so subtly, you up the flirting and lower the friend zoning, almost like knobs on a dial. Now, one thing I want to make really clear here is that when I talk about flirting, I'm not talking about flirting in the sense of you taking a nude picture. Nothing like that. You simply need to do something that makes your ex believe that you're kind of into him, but it needs to kind of be in that gray area. A perfect example is inviting your ex out for a cup of coffee. That is kind of a situation that you would be in if you're interested in the person. But here's the trick. Your ex, thinking it's a one-on-one date, shows up and you have a bunch of other guy friends and girlfriends around you. So all of a sudden, you've been friend zoning him. So he starts off thinking that you're flirting or wanting to do something flirtatious like having a date, and then ends up kind of at a group hangout, almost like he's been friend zoned. You'll notice that the more you do this tactic, the more your ex begins to chase you and chase you and chase you, and that's really what you want to have happen if you want him to like you again. Now, speaking of chasing, tip number 2 is right up your alley. Tip number 2, become the ungettable girl. The ungettable girl or the ungettable status is a terminology that you'll hear me refer to my clients a lot. Often I'm telling them you need to be more ungettable. You need to be that object of a man's desire that he's constantly chasing and can never quite get. You'll notice that women who have this ungettable quality tend to be more at peace with themselves and tend to have all these guys chasing them. And that's a huge problem I see with my own clients. When they're so hung up on getting an ex back, they almost put him on a pedestal. What you need to do is have a paradigm shift. So instead of you chasing your ex, you set the situation up to where he is chasing you. Now that can only be done if you achieve the ungettable status. Now I talk a lot about this in my private Facebook group, in my private programs, and also in my coaching sessions. But if you want a quick qualifier, all you have to do is simply read some of the articles on my website, www.exboyfriend.com, where I refer to the ungettable status. Tip number 3, compliment them when their defenses are lowered. Now, let's make one thing really clear here. When I say compliment them, I'm not saying compliment them of every moment of every day like so many of you want to. There seems to be this weird trend where women believe that if they compliment their exes, their ex will suddenly look at them in this new light. Newsflash, that just doesn't happen. But that's not to say that a compliment can't be used at all during the recovery process. In fact, I think compliments are a great tool that you can have in your tool belt as long as you place them during the correct time, usually when your ex's defenses are lowered. Now, what do you think I mean when I talk about defenses being lowered? Well, more often than not, that means your ex has done something or said something to make you believe that he's interested. At that point, you can give him a very specific compliment, not by saying, hey, you're so handsome, but by picking out a feature of his clothing and saying, I really like your shoes, or, I really like your watch. Giving him a compliment that's specific to him is more effective and it's less cliche. But remember, what matters most when you're giving compliments to your ex is timing. Timing is what matters the most, and I cannot tell you how often I see women fail. The worst time to compliment an ex, for example, is right after a no contact rule, where you've ignored them for 30 days, they've reached out to you and you've not responded, and then all of a sudden you're complimenting them on their blue eyes, saying, I really love the blue eyes that you have. That's weird, especially after you've ignored them for 30 days straight. It makes a lot more sense to give a compliment like that if you're on a date. Tip number 4, show, don't tell. When I look back at the recommendations I typically give to my clients, I try to see which advice I give is a little bit cliched. There's only really a couple of pieces of advice that I think I give to my clients that can be considered cliche. One of them, of course, is the no contact rule, which every other expert recommends, and for good reason. It's one of the most effective ways to get your ex back. The other one is to improve yourself, which, if done properly, can be really important, but where I think I differ from most of my peers is that most of the time my peers will recommend telling the ex of all the changes they've made in their life, but I find it's way more effective to show your ex. Now, what do you think I mean by showing and not telling? Well, most of my clients, when they come to me, want to tell their ex of all the weight they've lost or all the changes they've made in their life. But it's way more effective for your ex to find that out on his own via social media, for example, by posting Facebook updates or Snapchat updates or Instagram stories or something like that, where you are living life to its fullest and showing the change that you're embarking upon. Your ex will see that, and it's a lot more effective than having you sit there and say, hey, guess what? I lost 20 pounds. Versus him seeing you in a hardcore workout, looking great, seeing you in a bikini, looking great, seeing you having fun with friends, looking great. Show, don't tell. Hey, thank you so much for getting to the end of the video. Like I said, if you haven't already and you're wanting to get your ex back, the first place you should always start is to hop over to my website, www.exboyfriend.com, and take my Ex Recovery Chances quiz. Again, taking that quiz is super easy. Look in the description link below this YouTube video and click on the link you see there. The other thing I'd really love for you to do is to subscribe to my channel. We're trying to produce weekly videos on helping women with empowerment, women with trying to get their exes back, or simply women moving on from their exes. So if you could subscribe to the channel and click that bell notification so that you can get updates anytime I come out with a new video, or simply respond to one of your comments when you leave a comment on one of the videos. I'll see you guys next time.